Shalom and welcome to Journeying into the Word. Today's readings are interesting because many of us will be able to identify ourselves with the characters in the readings. To get started, the theme for today's reflection is evil versus good. Is it God's battle or ours? You'll see it in the first reading when Jeremiah faces severe opposition while carrying out God's calling to be a prophet of God's justice and grace. That might sound familiar with some of us. We too might be facing similar challenges when we answer God's call. The question is, how do we react? When we face similar challenges, when we are called to serve God, do we easily give up or do we persevere? Are we faithful regardless of what challenges we face? Or do we complain or quit at the slightest obstacle? Remember, God rewards those who are willing to persevere and sacrifice and faithfully trust Him regardless of whatever they face. Yes, Jeremiah of today's reading faced challenges, but because he trusted God and persevered, God fought his battles and worked wonders through him. And this is the lesson for all of us today, that God will fight our battles if we are focused on Him and not ourselves. Today's psalm continues with a parallel message. Like Jeremiah, if we put God first in everything, and if we are willing to surrender and sacrifice ourselves to fulfill God's will, then He will see us through any battle and every challenge. Why? And how? Because He who started the good work in and through us will also give us the grace and divine assistance to complete them, provided we surrender and do what's stated in verse 6 of today's Psalm 31. It's a verse Jesus Himself quotes on the cross. "Into your hands I commend my spirit." We too are reminded in the rest of the psalm that it is God who delivers and redeems, and He will definitely redeem us. In turn, we who are redeemed are called to go and redeem others. As we answer that call, He will help us face and overcome challenges. That same Spirit is seen at the beginning of today's Gospel as Jesus foretells His passion, death, and resurrection. Jesus faithfully goes toward Jerusalem, where He knows the ultimate battle for salvation of souls awaits Him. Yet He knows that God the Father will help Him fight the battle. Like us, He knew that it won't be easy. Pain and suffering, sacrifice, and even death would take place when answering God's call. Here's where today's Gospel teaches us a valuable lesson. While Jesus is focused on fulfilling His call and the Father's will, the apostles were interested in personal glory and power and positions. So today we too are asked to reflect on the focus of our life. Is it on the world or is it on ourselves? Personal agenda or God's glory? God's will and calling and purpose for creating us? Or is it fulfilling what our desires, our agenda is? If we focus on ourselves, the battle becomes difficult and too challenging. But if we are focused on God, then He will give us the grace to achieve greatness through servanthood, humility, self-sacrifice, perseverance, and faithfulness. So today we need to ask ourselves, do we want our prayers answered? Do we want breakthroughs and miracles, wisdom and divine graces to overcome the challenges we face in our life? Then we need to ask ourselves, if we are we putting God first in everything? Are we willing to sacrifice ourselves to fulfill God's will like Jeremiah? So today, friends, after listening and viewing this video, spend some time in silence and check and see, and let's ask ourselves if our thoughts, words, and deeds are pleasing to God. Are we constantly complaining to God about this and that thing or person? Or is it our time with God one of thanksgiving and praise, surrender and discernment on what God's calling us next to do. Because Jeremiah did what God told him. He was bold enough to ask God for favors and knew God will take care of him. Why? Because he surrendered and knew that the battle belongs to God, provided we trust him all the way. And that's exactly what Jesus too did on his way to Jerusalem. Deep inside, he knew that the Father will take care of things provided he can openly surrender and trust him all the way. So friends, let's remember that the battle for souls is ongoing, and we need to do our best and trust that if we are 100% surrendered and open and obedient to please God by fulfilling his will, he will fight the battle with us and for us. Take care, reflect on this, and have a blessed day. Take care. God bless you. Amen.